Hello everyone and welcome to the Wide Shut webcast. I am your host Keelan Balderson and you can check us out at wideshut.co.uk. Now today I want to talk about the god awful documentary that was on BBC Two last night about the Christmas Day underwear bomber on that Detroit flight. Now this was just complete propaganda, complete deception. They missed out most of the important facts, like they let him on the plane without a passport, that he was escorted by a smartly dressed gentleman, that somebody filmed most of the incident. They didn't interview Kurt Haskell, who is a witness to all of this. All they had were witnesses that brought an emotional side to it rather than what they actually saw. It was like, oh, I was going home to see my family and it was a devastating event. Well, what did you actually see? Complete whitewash. But I just want to pick out a few of these points here today and parlay them with what we already know, with what's already been released, so then we can understand what agendas are going on here. Now, let's not sugarcoat this. This wasn't some grand Al-Qaeda plot that allowed him to get past all the security measures. They allowed him on the plane. This is a fact, okay? On January 27th, there were government hearings with the House of Homeland Security Committee where Patrick Kennedy admitted that they didn't revoke his visa. They didn't revoke his visa. Okay, they let him on the plane. Now, there were several red flags. His father went into the US Embassy and said, my son could be a terrorist. He could be about to undertake a plot to blow up a plane or whatever. They ignored that. They didn't revoke his visa. They let him on the plane. So what came to light in these hearings was that somebody higher up the chain, somebody higher up the pyramid of the intelligence agencies actually said, no, it's alright, don't revoke his visa, he's under our watch, we've got our eye on him, it's okay, don't revoke his visa. So let's not sugarcoat this. Some criminal inside American intelligence circumvented the regular rules, overrided the system and let that man on the plane. Now this brings up all sorts of questions, because when they're saying it was a lapse in airport security, that we need tighter measures to stop this happening, no, that's not true then, is it? Because if he was allowed on the plane, that has nothing to do with security measures. Yet we have idiots like Michael Chertoff, that turncoat, that criminal, saying, no, we need full naked body scanners. We need to affect your DNA with radiation. We need full naked body scanners. We need to humiliate you some more. Now this is a perfect example of what I was explaining yesterday about the hierarchy of the pyramid of control. The CIA, the MI5, Homeland Security, these organisations aren't here to stop attacks, to prevent threats. They're here to ensure the agenda of this shadow government, or whatever you want to call it, the New World Order. They're here to ensure that their agenda goes through. See, what have we seen here? Despite the man being allowed on the plane, despite his visa not being revoked when it should have been, and it was overrid by somebody else higher up the chain, despite all of this, the average person now has to go through even tighter measures of security at the airport. We have to go through naked body scanners that, according to some sources, gives off radiation. You know, you can only have so many x-rays a year. When you're at a dentist, the dentist has to leave the room because the x-ray radiates the body. But no, frequent flyers have to go through naked body scanners that could potentially cause them harm. We have to go through all of this because something the intelligence agencies failed to do correctly. And then you have to ask, well, maybe That was the point the whole time, to get in more security, to take away more of our freedoms. See, one man we have to look at is this Michael Chertoff. Now this criminal, this puppet of the military-industrial complex, is actually the head of a private security firm called the Chertoff Group. Okay, and one of his clients are the manufacturers of the body scanners. So when this scumbag goes doing interview after interview on all the major news networks saying, we need these body scanners, this will stop the terrorists, just remember that he's got a financial incentive in getting these scanners through. And of course he has contacts in the intelligence agencies. This guy is high up there in this pyramid, okay? So if there is a shadow network subverting information to stop these terrorists from getting on flights, look at this man, because this guy has a financial incentive, a motive, to get these scanners into the airports. So keep all this in mind when you watch this whitewashed BBC documentary, where they basically say he just waltzed into the airport, got on the plane and set off the bomb. No, that's not how it happened. You know, they have one witness saying, oh, I saw him scratching his head, I thought that might have been suspicious. Now, why have pointless emotional witnesses like that add nothing to the actual events that happened? Oh, they had Johnny the musician, man, and he said it was really scary, man. Yeah, okay. Why don't you have the eyewitnesses that saw a man casually videotape the whole incident, huh? I mean, you have to ask, why would the BBC, who put all this money into this production, omit key witnesses like that? The FBI has not even mentioned this man that was videotaping the incident. Why is that? There's multiple eyewitnesses that said a man was casually videotaping the incident. You'd think they'd want to look at that videotape. Now this bullshit documentary has him walking past the ticket agents, you know, in a reenactment, and he gives a little smirk because he got by. What they fail to say is that Kurt Haskell, an eyewitness, and his wife saw a smartly dressed gentleman escort Muttalib past the ticket agents and said, he's from the Sudan. We do this all the time. He's with me. There were officials leading him onto the plane. But no, the documentary makes no mention of this. He just waltzed on through. Now, this same eyewitness report from Mr. Kurt Haskell and his wife, who he's actually a lawyer. Not that lawyers should be trusted any more than other people, but he has a reputation to uphold. He's not just going to go out and lie. And this same report, which you can find on metrodetroit.com, various news outlets picked up on it. He was interviewed on the Alex Jones show, so YouTube that. He said the same well-dressed man that escorted him past the ticket agents onto the plane was the same man who escorted him off in handcuffs.
Kurt Haskell joins us now on the telephone from Taylor, Michigan. And Kurt, thanks very much. So you're standing with your wife or sitting near the boarding gate and the suspect approaches. Tell us what you saw and heard.
Sure. How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks.
The suspect approached with a well-dressed Indian man. He looked like he was wealthy, maybe around age 50. And obviously he wasn't the suspect. Yeah, to me he just looked like a poor black teenager, maybe around 16 or 17 years old. Mm-hmm. And they weren't doing anything out of the ordinary except that they were together, which they kind of looked like an odd couple to me. Mm-hmm. And it kind of caught my curiosity, so I watched them as they approached the ticket agent. And I was about 10 feet away, sitting on the floor, and it was pretty quiet. I could hear, the conversation pretty well. And only the Indian man spoke. And what he said was, this man needs to board the plane, and he doesn't have a passport. And the ticket agent then responded saying, well, you need a passport to board the plane. And the Indian man then said, he's from Sudan. We do this all the time.